Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name.
I'm Dr. Noelia Alemar Hernandez.
Dr. Hernandez, would you please tell us what it is that you do for a living?
I'm an associate medical examiner here in Lee County at the District 21 Medical Examiner's Office.
And what type of background do you have that allows you to be a medical examiner?
I did a bachelor's degree in chemistry at the University of Puerto Rico. Then I did 4 years of medical school at the University of Puerto Rico as well. Then I did a residency program in anatomic pathology at NYU. And then I did a forensic pathology fellowship program at the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner's Office.
And how long have you been a medical examiner?
After training, almost 5 years now.
Could you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what pathology actually is?
Yes. So pathology is a branch of medicine that studies disease, just like internal medicine is also a branch of medicine.
And what is forensic pathology?
So forensic pathology would be a subspecialty of pathology, just like, for example, cardiology is a subspecialty of internal medicine. And what forensic pathology focuses on is determining the cause and manner of death by examining the dead body, as well as reviewing medical records and whatever information we have to make that determination.
And what is anatomical pathology?
Anatomical pathology is just, when you talk about pathology, you have anatomical and clinical. Anatomical focuses more on studying disease, like organs. So we do a lot of, for example, when you have a biopsy that would get sent to the lab, that's an anatomic pathologist that looks at that under the microscope. So it's not just doing autopsies, you're also looking at a lot of slides to diagnose disease as well in any organ.
Now, over the past 5 years that you've actually been a medical examiner, how many autopsies have you performed?
Probably close to 1,300, 1,400.
Now, in October of 2019, were you an associate medical examiner here in Lee County?
Yes, I was.
And did you have an opportunity to perform the autopsy of a young lady by the name of Christine Melton?
Yes, I did.
All right. In general, could you describe for ladies and gentlemen of the jury the medical purpose for conducting an autopsy?
So like I was saying, we conduct autopsies to, the main reason is to determine the cause and manner of death for a decedent, as well as to document disease and injury as well on a dead person.
Please explain for ladies and gentlemen of the jury what exactly the cause of death is.
So the cause of death is the disease, the injury, or it could be a combination of both that causes the death of an individual.
And when you refer to manner of death, what do you mean?
So manner of death is just a classification of how the cause of death came about. So it can be classified as natural, somebody that dies, for example, of old age or just heart disease. It can be an accident, like, for example, somebody that dies in a car accident. Suicide, when somebody takes their own life. Homicide, which is death at the hands of another. And undetermined, which is when it could either fit into more than one of those categories, or we don't have enough information to put it into any of those categories.
Now, let me draw your attention then to the autopsy of Ms. Christine Melton on the 8th of October of 2019. Would you please describe for ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you began conducting the autopsy of Ms. Melton?
So when we first received the body, it's sealed and locked in a body bag. So we begin the autopsy by doing an external examination where we document everything on the body, things like height and weight, and just the general appearance of the deceased, as well as any injuries or any markings that might be on the body. And we also collect evidence as well while we're doing the external examination.
Please tell us what, if any, injuries that you observed on the body of Ms. Christine Melton during that you were conducting the external examination.
She had some small bruises on her neck and the left side of her face, like almost towards her neck, as well as she had some small abrasions, which are kind of, I guess a layman's term would be saying like a scrape or a scratch, as well as some ecchymosis, which is basically like saying a bruise, like when you just bump your hand against something, for example, and you get like a bruise, that would be an ecchymosis. She had small ones scattered throughout her body, like her torso and her extremities.
Did you notice any damage or injury to her hands?
She had a minute abrasion on her right hand, and she had artificial nails, and so some of the nails on her right hand were broken or like you could only see fragments of the artificial nails.
And did you have an opportunity to go ahead and photograph all these external injuries that you had just described?
Yes.
Judge, let the record reflect I'm showing defense counsel increasing marking spaces in number 13A, 13B, 13C, and also 13D. Any questions?
Yeah.
Doctor, I'm handing some proofs and marking spaces in number 13A, 13B, 13C, and as well as 13D. I see you take a look at those items, see if you recognize those.
Yes.
How do you recognize those?
These are photographs that were taken during the external examination and autopsy of Ms. Melton.
And do those photographs fairly and accurately depict Ms. Melton when you were conducting the autopsy of her on the 8th of October 2019?
Yes, I do.
Judge, state move stations in number 13A, B, C, and D in evidence at this time?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
Be admitted. Yeah.
Now, Dr. Hernandez, I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 13A. Could you you please orient the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about the injuries that you are observing in this particular photograph so that give you any cause for concern?
So as you can see here, you're looking at the right side of her head, and you can see the upper part of her torso. The number 908-19, that's the number that was assigned to this particular autopsy, to Ms. Melton's case. And then if you looked to the, I guess looking straight at it, it would be below the number. There's like a darker bruise on the right side of her neck. I wish I had a pointer, but oh, there you go. So that's the little bruise I was referring to on the right side of her neck.
And when did that indicate to you?
That she had a blunt force injury or a bruise on that side.
And as we're looking at Stacy's exhibit number 13B, what are we looking at in this photograph that gave you any cause for concern?
This photograph is the left side of her head, and again, you can also see the superior part of her torso. And in this photograph, the dark, I guess, mark is the best way to describe it in the picture on the between her neck and her shin on the left side. That's the abrasion, or an easier way to describe it could be a scratch or a scrape on the left side. And if you look towards her shin, it's a little bit hard to tell with the glare, but there's like a little pink area right here. That's also a little bruise on the left side of her shin.
Doctor, would it assist you to step down off the stand and approach the actual screen itself and allow yourself to orient the jury to what exactly it is that you're referring to?
Sure.
Of course, permission.
Okay.
The abrasion I was referring to?
Objection, no question.
That's true.
Now, the abrasion that you're referring to in this particular photograph, would you please describe for us what gave you cause for concern in State's exhibit number 13B? Would you please point to the abrasion that you're referring to? Okay. And what gave you any cause for concern as it relates to that particular injury?
Because it's an injury.
You're going to have to speak up louder because there's not a microphone over there.
At this point, I was simply documenting all the external injuries, so it gave me concern because it is an injury and it is on her body.
Okay. And because of its location, does that also give you any cause for concern?
Because it's on her neck, it's concerning given the other findings I found during the autopsy.
What other injury were you pointing out in this particular photograph?
Right here?
You're referring to the bottom of her chin?
Yeah.
And what are we looking at when we're looking at the bottom of her chin?
There is a small bruise right there.
I'm going to show you State's exhibit number 13C that's been entered into evidence. What are we looking at in this photograph?
So this picture is after the hands have been cleaned and the fingernails have been cut for evidence. So these are the two artificial fingernails that you can see.
I'm going to have her speak up louder. You're going to have her up there because I can't.
Just please speak up.
Like I was saying, can you hear me?
Okay.
This picture is after the hand has been cleaned and the fingernails have been clipped to collect evidence. What you can see here is these are the two fingers where the artificial nails, as you can see, are missing, and there's only some small fragments of them left over her nail.
And did these appear to have been broken off?
They appear to be broken off. I can't say when it happened, but they appear to be broken off.
Very well. Now, when we were talking about when we talk about some of this discoloration that is reflected here in State's exhibit number 13B and 13A, could you tell us a little bit about the discoloration that we're observing in these particular photographs?
So she has a mix of lividity and congestion on her face. So lividity is a post-mortem change that is based on the position that her body is in after the person has passed away. So all the blood flows towards the side that you're laying on, and you get this discoloration on the face. And you can also get congestion there are certain things that can cause the face to get congested as well. Marked discoloration that you can see as well as around her eyes. You can see some marked congested with a little, it almost looks like little red bruises around her eyes.
Do you know when those particular bruises actually occur?
I can give you an exact time frame of those.
Well, what I mean is, would those have occurred before she died, at the time of death, or after death?
Somewhere between around the time of death or before. It could be either one.
Thank you, Doctor.
You can return to the stand.
Doctor, the external injuries that you observed and photographed of Ms. Melton, after you conducted your external examination, what is your next step in the process?
That's where we do the autopsy, which is what you always see on TV, where we start with the Y-shaped incision. We reflect the skin, and we examine all of the organs. And in this particular case, we actually reflected the skin of the extremities as well to look for injuries.
Okay. When we were talking about a Y-cut incision, what do you mean?
You start at the shoulders, and you go down towards the center of the chest. So that's the top part of the Y, and then you extend it all the way down to the inferior part of the abdomen. So that's the Y-shaped incision.
Okay, and when you say we were reflecting the skin, that means basically pulling it back and opening up the body. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you conducted the Y incision on Ms. Melton and began the external examination, or internal examination of her body, what did you find?
She had hemorrhage on the subcutaneous tissues of her neck, which are the tissues right under the skin. And I could also see hemorrhage over the muscles on her neck. Was the first thing we saw after starting the autopsy.
Now, with the court's permission, I'd respectfully request the doctor to step down once again and approach the screen. And
Which exhibit do you have?
State Cinema 13D, Judge.
Okay. All right.
Doctor, when we're looking here at State's Exhibit number 13D, what are we looking at?
This is a picture of the neck from the inside. So the more, this area right here, that's the skin that has been reflected towards the top of the head. And these right here, those are the muscles of the anterior neck that have also been reflected upwards as well. So what you can see is there's hemorrhage in most of those muscles in the anterior neck. Here, all of these muscles as well. And what we're doing is we're reflecting those muscles layer by layer to see how deep that hemorrhage extends to. And in her case, when you keep reflecting those muscles, it goes all the way to the deeper muscles as well as on the surface of the thyroid gland, which is sitting right over the thyroid cartilage.
What do you mean when you say that when you began reflecting the muscles, it went deeper?
So we start with the muscles that are more superficial. They start with what's called the sternocleidomastoid muscles, which are the big muscles that are more towards the side right here. And then we start with the next layer on the anterior neck. And once you reflect that, you pull it out, there's another muscle under it. So you keep going deeper into the muscle. That's what I mean by that.
Does the deeper the muscle and the deeper the discoloration also correlate to the amount of force necessary to create that kind of injury and trauma?
In a way, yes.
What do you mean in a way?
I can't tell you how much force, but yes, in order to make it go deeper, you have to make a stronger force or a harder object of force.
So the more pressure, the deeper the damage or deeper the injury. Is that right? And when we're looking at this particular photograph in general, there are a number of dark discolored areas around the neck area that indicate injury. Is that fair to say?
Yes, those are hemorrhage.
Okay. And that's because the deeper or the more pressure that's used around the neck area, the deeper the injury that's caused. Okay. As you return back to the stand, please. What other injuries did you see on the interior of dark discolored areas around the neck area that indicate injury? Is that fair to say?
Yes, those are hemorrhage.
Okay. And that's because the deeper or the more pressure that's used around the neck area, the deeper the injury that's caused. Okay. As you return back to the stand, please. What other injuries did you see on the interior of Ms. Melton?
So when we reflect, and again, it's the same thing, we pull it back, the scalp, which is essentially the skin around your head. There were hemorrhages or contusions on both sides of the scalp. She also had contusions on both lungs. She had a small contusion on her transverse colon, which is part of the large bowel that is going horizontal at the upper part of your abdomen. She had.
Let's talk about the scalp injury. You indicated that there was a hemorrhage there as well. Contusion?
There's contusions, yes, on both sides of the scalp.
What does that mean?
It's hemorrhage on the inner surface of the scalp.
How would one get damage to the interior of the scalp?
So those are consistent with blunt force injuries.
So someone actually striking someone, or the head actually striking something?
It could be either one, yes.
You indicated that there was also damage to the lungs or injury to the lungs?
Yes.
Okay. What damage did you see or injury did you see to the lungs?
So there's hemorrhage on the surface as well as extending slightly into the parenchyma or the inside of the lung. So those are what we call contusions on the lungs, which are also evidence of blunt force injuries.
When we're talking about contusions, is that a fancy word for bruising?
Yes.
So when we're talking about bruising to the lungs, how much force or pressure would it take in order to do that?
I mean, that's kind of like a hard question to answer. I can't say exactly how much pressure.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that if someone punched you in the lungs pretty hard, that would cause that kind of damage or injury?
If they punch you in the chest, yes, they could do that.
You also indicated that there was damage to the colon area.
Yes.
And would you please describe what injury that you saw there?
Same thing. It was hemorrhage on the surface of the colon, and it's a transverse colon, so it sits towards the top of your abdomen.
And what type of damage did you see there?
That's also a blunt force injury.
And once again, that's actually someone striking you, or you actually striking something. Is that right?
That's right.
Was there any other damage that you saw on the interior of Ms. Melton?
She also had a contusion to her liver and one to her bladder. She had a ruptured cyst in one of her ovaries, but that type of cyst could rupture due to trauma, but could also rupture due to strenuous exercise and other activities. So I can't say whether or not that was due to the trauma.
Let's talk a little bit about the damage to the bladder. What did you see there?
So similar to where I was explaining in the lungs, it's also hemorrhage on the surface of the bladder, and it extends all the way to the mucosa, which would be the inner surface of the bladder where the urine is held. So it'd be like hemorrhage on the tissues right there.
And would that also be consistent with blunt force trauma?
Yes.
And as it relates to the liver, what did you know was trauma to the liver?
Yeah. So that one would also be blunt force trauma, the contusion to the liver.
So based upon your complete autopsy examination, can you tell, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what your conclusion was in this particular case?
So in this case, based on what I was explaining earlier in the neck, how she had hemorrhage extending from the superficial muscles all the way to the deep muscles, as well as the bruises on the outside of her neck. And also she had petechia on one of her eyelids and some petechia on her scalp itself. All of her autopsy findings taken together are consistent with death by asphyxia due to compression of the neck.
You just mentioned petechia of the eye and petechia of the scalp. Can you please describe for ladies and gentlemen of the jury in layman's terms what that means?
So petechia are pinpoint hemorrhage, so they're like a tiny little dot, and they're caused when your venous pressure goes up. So it causes a backup of the blood, and all of that pressure causes your little venules to burst. So you just create this little, like pinpoint, tiny little hemorrhage.
And that would have been as a result of the asphyxiation?
That's one of the causes for petechia, yes.
And doctor, did you also complete a death certificate in this particular case?
Yes.
Judge, let the record reflect on showing defense counsel's conclusion, Mark, Stacy, 14. Commissioner Croce?
You may.
Dr. I'm handing you some briefs of Mark, Stacy, 14. Ask you to recognize that.
Yes.
What does that appear to be?
This is the death certificate for Christine Melton.
And is that a certified copy of the death certificate?
Yes.
Judge would move Stacy number 14 in evidence.
Objections?
No objection.
Do that.
I have no further questions at this time, Judge.
Okay.
Doctor, when you, back in 2019, that's 5 years ago, you just like a brand new medical examiner?
Yes, I had recently started at the District 21 Medical Examiner's Office.
Okay, when did you start it there?
September of 2019.
So this was 1 month after being there.
Yes.
Did you take, or as part of your protocol, did you take the DNA scrapings from under Miss Melton's nails?
We take the fingernail clip-ins where they cut the fingernails, and we put them in the little envelopes.
Okay. But you're not, you yourself, conducting an autopsy, are not looking to collect DNA, are you?
We collect a DNA card from the decedent where it's like a little card with circles and you put blood from the decedent on it.
Okay.
We collect the fingernail clippings, which I guess law enforcement would use to look for DNA under the fingernails. We'll do swabs if they request us to do a rape kit, like swabs of the mouth, the anus, the vagina. And if there's any secretions or anything we notice on the body, we may swab that as well.
Did you do a rape kit on Miss Melton?
I believe we did, yes.
And what do you do with that when you're done collecting the evidence?
We hand that over. We sign it, we seal it, and we hand it over to law enforcement.
Okay. And just what do you do to use a rape kit? I'm sorry. When you are going to complete a rape kit, what do you do as part of your autopsy?
You mean like how do I collect this?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I usually have my technicians assist with that, and before we clean the body, once we open the body bag, we'll take swabs of, so the rape kit usually comes with swabs for the buccal mucosa, it swabs for the vagina, and swabs for the anus as well. So we'll do all of those before we clean or start manipulating the body any further, once we get it.
Do you as the doctor do those, or are your technicians doing them?
They usually do those under my supervision.
Could the injuries to the neck area occur during rough sex?
Some of the injuries, I guess it's possible.
You mentioned various contusions on the body. Were there contusions on the exterior of the body that corresponded to what you found on the internal examination?
So, for example, one of the bruises on the right side of the neck, there was hemorrhage corresponding to that area. Some of the bruises on her extremity, I don't remember the exact locations, had hemorrhage under the skin corresponding to those bruises. But not all of them had a bruise that you could see on the skin over them.
Well, like you said, petechiae. How long does it take to, I think you said those were burst capillaries?
They're burst little venules, so they're some of the smallest blood vessels in the body.
How long does it take for one of those things to burst?
I can't really give you a time frame. That would probably depend on how much pressure you're applying. The higher the pressure, the faster they would burst.
So they could burst in basically seconds, depending on what's happening.
That's correct.
Okay, and you found those on an eyelid. Did you find any in the eyeballs?
She had ecchymosis or hemorrhage in the eyeballs. So I can't say definitively if those were petechia, that they can become confluent. So when you have petechia close together, they can kind of coalesce. So it just looks like one big ecchymosis rather than a bunch of little petechia. But that's pretty much impossible to say if that's what happened in that case.
And how did you note petechiae on the scalp?
When you reflect it on the inside, that's where you see the petechia.
Okay. All right. Nothing further, Judge.
All right. Anything else from the state?
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
All right. You may sit down.
Truth and nothing but the truth.
You take a stand. Ready, Father? All right.
Inquire.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Luis Taboada Rodriguez.
Could you please spell your name for the record?
I have two last names. It's Taboada is Taboada, and Rodriguez is Rod. Okay, spell again. Rodriguz.
And sir, are you currently employed?
Yes, I am the director of clinical service at Nova University.
I want to take you back to October 7th of 2019. What were you doing on that day?
That day was the day that I went to my daughter's school, so I went there to pay the after school program.
Where did your daughter go to school at the time?
That was Hector Cafarara School, elementary school at Keiko town.
Now, when you were going to the school, was there anything that caught your attention?
When I went out is when it caught my attention, and I went to the office. I paid the after school program, and I went out. I saw in the entrance of the school a woman purse, and this is what that caught my attention. So I turned, and I grabbed the purse and gave to the police office inside the school, in the office.
All right. Now, when you saw this purse, where exactly was it? Was it in the road or on a sidewalk?
It was in the middle of the road, but it's in the main entrance of the school. I think it's a school property, not in the street.
When you saw the purse, what did you think at the time when you saw it?
I saw that probably some mom dropped it. I have seen people leaving stuff in the top of the car, and I saw that.
So you said you saw it when you were driving?
Yes, when I went out from school.
And you stopped and picked it up?
I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
For the record, I'm showing Defense Counsel 23, 24, and 24A. Sir, I'm showing you States Exhibits 23, 24, and 24A. Are these photographs of the purse that you picked up from in front of the elementary school and turned it to the school resource officer?
It was kind of brown.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. It was kind of brown, but it was a woman purse.
Okay. So you're not for sure whether this is it, but you did pick up a purse and turn it into the school resource officer?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, when you left the purse with the school resource officer, did you give him your name?
No, basically they know me there because I already paid for the after school programs. And no, I just gave the purse and tell the office that I don't know what was inside. Just the purse was open. I saw some stuff there like cards or, but I didn't open it and check anything, so I gave to them.
Okay. And did you then give a statement to Cape Coral Police Department about the purse that you found?
I did.
All right, this time the state tenders a witness.
No cross.
Very well. Sir, you can sit down.
Thank you so much.
To give you excused.
Any objection?
No objection.
You're also excused.
All right, I did.
You can go.
Thank you.
At this time, the state calls Don Griffin.
All right. If you'll face the clerk and raise your right hand, she'll swear you in.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, you can take a seat.
Interested.
May I inquire?
You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record.
Dawn Griffin.
Ms. Griffin, where do you work?
I worked at Benson and Associates.
Say again, please.
I worked at Benson and Associates.
That was back on October 7th of 2019 you were working there?
Yes.
What type of a company is that?
Interior design.
What was your role for them?
I was just like a staff person that helped out in different areas.
Now, back on October 7th of 2019, about what time did you arrive to work?
6:30
Was that in the morning or evening?
morning.
When you arrived at work, where did you go?
There's 2 offices. I went into the administrative side.
Now, is the administrative office connected to the other office?
I don't think they're physically connected, no.
So you would have to go outside one office to get
Yes.
to the other office?
Yes.
Now, once you got inside the office, did something attract your attention?
Not till later, not till I moved to the other office.
And once you moved to the other office, what attracted your attention?
Someone passed closely to the door of the office I was in. Did not have a shirt on. It was early. I think after 7:30. It was still pretty early. Not many other businesses were open at that point.
This person that passed by without a shirt on, were you able to tell whether it was a man or a woman?
Man,
And did you notice any tattoos?
there were tattoos.
Now, what happened after the man passed by?
Nothing. It was a split second of my view. I just went back to work.
Okay, as you were working again, did something else attract your attention?
When I was in the back, I heard something that drew my attention to look outside.
What did you hear that drew your attention?
I don't remember exactly what it was I heard. It was enough to draw my attention to come out of the back.
Did it sound like a voice?
Yes.
And did it sound like a female voice or male voice?
I would, most likely a female, it sounded to me.
Objection, speculation.
Sustain.
Now, when you heard this voice, what was it that you did?
I continued to look outside.
What did you see when you looked outside?
Some kind of a struggle between this man and someone else I could not see.
The struggle between the man and the other person, were you able to observe any part of that person?
Of the other person?
Correct.
I could just see hair.
And what color was the hair?
Blonde.
Did you see whether the man had his hand on this person's hair?
I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Now, how long did you watch this struggle go on?
I would say it was a short time. Maybe a minute. I don't know.
Okay. Did you notice anything about the car that was next to them?
There were 2 cars. There was one parked in front of where the doorway is to this office, and there was another car behind that.
Did you know the owner of either of those cars?
I didn't remember at the time that the car next to the office was for an employee from the office.
The other car next to the employee's car, was that a car that you recognized or knew about?
No.
Now, after observing this struggle, what did you do?
I called the police.
And did they get there right away?
It didn't seem like it.
Now, was anybody else in either of your offices at that time?
I was the only one in this particular office. There were other staff members in the other office, the administrative side.
Were you able to let them know about what was going on?
Yes, after I hung up with the police, I called the other office to let them know.
And did you make sure that your door was locked?
Yes.
Eventually, did police show?
Yes.
And did they ask you about what had happened?
No.
So at some point, did you give some information to a police officer?
Yes.
And that was at a later date?
Yes.
And nothing further in terms of the witness?
About what time was this? After 7:30, 8 o'clock?
The incident,
Yes.
sometime after 7:30.
Nothing further.
All right.
I ask that she be excused, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
You can sit down. You're excused.
And we're going to need a break before the next few witnesses.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll send you back into the jury room. Please leave your notes here. Remember my earlier instructions. And we'll probably be on break for 15 minutes, maybe. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi,
Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name?
my name is Amy Slobosian.
And Ms. Slobosian, you know a young lady by the name of Melissa Montanez?
Yes, I do.
How do you know her?
We've been friends for over 10 years.
She have a nickname?
Mila.
Okay. Now, I want to direct your attention to the 6th of October, 2019. Did you go anywhere that evening?
Yeah, I did. I just recently came back from South Dakota, and I was like, I want to go see some friends, so I went down to the Buddha.
And about what time did you go there?
It was a little after 10,
And about how close to the Buddha do you live at that time?
maybe a mile.
And did you go there by yourself?
Yes.
And when you got there, did you see anyone you knew?
I saw Mila.
Okay. Did you see anyone else?
I saw Wade.
You say Wade. Who's that?
Wade Wilson.
Okay.
She
And
introduced me to him.
do you see Mr. Wilson here in court today? See nodding your head. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Would you please point him out and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's in the blue suit.
Judge, let the record reflect the witnesses also identify Mr. Wilson.
All right.
Now, at some point in the evening, did you decide to leave the Buddha?
Yes, I did. It was a little before closing time. I usually leave before it's after 2. And I walked outside, and when I walked outside, I noticed Mila's car to the right of me leaving, and then I noticed to the left of me at the stoop, Mila was standing there. So I was like, why is your car driving away? And she said, Wade took the car and he left. So I offered her a ride to my house if she wanted to just come to my house because I was right around the corner.
Okay. And did she accept your
Yes,
offer?
she did, and she spent the night with me.
Okay. Where did she sleep that night?
She slept on the sofa.
Did anything happen the following morning?
Yes, I had my bedroom door open and I heard her speaking on her phone saying, I don't know, let me check for a piece of mail and I'll give you the address. And I hollered to her, Mila, I don't know him. I don't want him in my house. My son is here. I will take you wherever you need to go. Like, if you want me to drive you somewhere, I'll take you wherever you need to go. So she was like, we'll just meet you at my spa.
And you indicated that you heard, was the phone being utilized at that time?
Yeah.
But how many times would you say that phone was being used or called?
They were talking on and off. It just kept ringing and ringing, and the whole time, the whole ride, all the way to the spa.
So did you feel comfortable with him coming to your house?
Absolutely not. I don't let strangers in my home.
So did you ultimately wind up driving her to the spa?
Yes, I did.
And what was the reason for her to want to meet up with him?
She wanted to get her keys and her driver's license and her car. She wanted her car back.
When you arrived at the spa, was Mr. Wilson there?
So they were on the phone while we were pulling up, and she said, we're going to be pulling up soon. And he goes, I'm pulling in right now. And it wasn't her car because there was a black car in front of us that was turning and pulling in. So my car was little. The entranceway was here. So I just kind of pulled in and backed into the first spot right there. And the black car was right here next to me.
Judge, let the record reflect on showing defense counsel Pierce and Martha States number 19. Can I approach, Judge?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Boji, I'm showing you Pierce and Martha States number 19. I ask you to take a look at that item. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
That's Mila Spa.
Okay. And does this photograph fairly and accurately depict
Yes.
Mia Spa? Mm-hmm. Judge State moves States number 19 in evidence at this time. No objection.
You admitted?
Permission to publish, Judge?
You may.
So you're pulling into this parking lot, and you've gone ahead and parked, and you see Mr. Wilson in a black vehicle that you don't recognize as the one he left the Buddha in that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So you park and he parks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. You get out of your car?
No.
Okay. Does Mia or Miss Martinez get out of her car?
Yes. Mila got out and went to the driver's side window.
What did you see?
She was just trying to get her stuff, and they were having just words back and forth, and then he tried to pull her in the window.
How did she respond?
She started fighting immediately.
What else did she do?
She wound up falling backwards, and then Wade got out of the vehicle after her, but the car wasn't in park. It was actually still rolling, so it almost ran them over. And then he slammed it in park and then went after her immediately. He was ripping her dress off of her. He was pulling her hair. Her extensions were everywhere all over the ground. And then he proceeded to drag her from the parking lot to the stairs, up the stairs. She was holding onto the banister like a monkey trying to hold on, and he just kept ripping her more and more to the door upstairs.
How tall would you say Miss Martinez is?
I'm only 5'4". She's shorter than me.
How much would you say she weighed?
She's got to be 125 pounds. She's light, little.
What color hair does she have at
Blonde.
that time? Did anyone else see?
There was a
what
lot
you
of
were
people.
seeing?
There was people walking on the sidewalk. There was I don't know if it's an upholstery shop or what it was, but design shop on the corner that has open windows. And there was a lawyer office. It was broad daylight.
Did anyone come to her assistance?
It happened so fast, and I immediately called 911.
When you saw them go upstairs towards the spa, what did you see Mr. Wilson do to Miss Martinez?
Instantly, when he punched her, well, he dragged her from the lower part of the stairs to the upper part of the stairs. He pinned her up against the wall by his hands on her throat, and then he punched her in her face. When he punched her in her face, her nose exploded. And I don't know if it was sirens in the background or the sound or the blood that came out of her nose that spooked him, but he immediately got into the black car and just started taking off.
Now, was he making any threats to her when he was beating her?
I mean, it was so fast, but he did threaten. He did say, he said to me if I got out of the car, he was going to kill me.
Say anything towards Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was trying to hurt her. He was trying to get her in the car to get away with her.
Was he saying anything to her at the time that he was beating her and striking her?
It was so fast. Honestly, he was just dragging her and beating her.
After he was dragging and beating her, you said he ultimately wound up leaving?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And after he left, what did you do?
We met with the police.
And did you ultimately end up finding her car?
Yeah. Afterwards, when I was leaving, I live off. You have to get on McGregor to get to the place that I was living at the time. And when I was driving down McGregor Boulevard, in the peripheral of my vision, I noticed the Hellcat. It was almost at the corner of one of the blocks and McGregor. So I called Mila immediately and I said, I just found your car. It's right by the Edison Country Club. It was on one of the side streets on the water side.
And after you found it, did you ultimately wind up giving a statement to law enforcement regarding?
Yes,
what
I
you
called
observed?
a friend of mine that he's retired now. He was a police officer. I called him and I let him know I found the car.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness. Judge. No cross.
All right, you may sit down.
Judge, at this time, state with respect, would be requesting that she be excused.
Any objection?
No objection.
She's excused.
Thank you.
The state calls Melissa Montanez. May I approach the clerk, Your Honor?
You may.
So did you tell him that you weren't going to go to this house with
Yes,
him?
I expressed at least 3 times he was trying to convince me to go to a house I did not want to go to.
So did you end up going with him to the house? How did he get there?
He stole my vehicle and went.
So did you know he was going to take your vehicle?
No.
How did you find out that your vehicle was...
I saw it leaving the Buddha.
So you were stuck at the Buddha without your car?
And Amy was out there. She was watching it drive away as well, and she said, "It's okay, come to my house."
So did you end up going to her house?
Yes.
And did you spend the night at her house?
Yes.
Where did you stay?
On the couch.
Now, did you ever hear again from Wade Wilson?
Roughly 6, my phone starts either texting or calling. Around 8 something, 8:45, I start noticing and I start answering his phone calls.
Okay, so the first calls that he's making or text messages he's making, you don't receive those or talk to him at all?
I was sleeping.
When you first spoke with him, tell the jurors about how that conversation went.
When I first heard his voice, it was, "Where are you? Can I come get you?" I can't really remember, but it was more calm at first.
Okay.
As I started saying, "I want my keys, I want my car, where are you? I need to get them back," it escalated more into name calling and aggression and intimidation.
Okay. Now, let's go to where it starts to escalate. How are you able to tell that he's starting to escalate?
Raising his voice, calling me names,
What names is he calling you?
bitch, cunt, whore, all these different names. And I can't remember the threats per se, but it was very intimidating,
Did he appear to sound angry?
very angry.
Did you feel scared at this point? Now, the phone number that I'm going to, Judge, may I approach?
You may.
For the record, I'm showing defense counsel what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 20. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 20, and I just ask if you look at it and tell me if you recognize that phone number.
That is my phone number.
Okay, and is that the phone number that he was calling you and texting you?
Yes.
Now, at this time, the State would move 20 into evidence.
Be admitted.
At this time, the State, pursuant to a notice of intent to rely upon certification of business records, would also move 21 into evidence. I can show the defense counsel the records for Ms. Montanez.
You approach.
You may.
Thank you. Did you know a Josh Lukich?
Yes.
Did Mr. Wilson reside with him for a
I do not
brief
recall.
while?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. When you were at the Buddha Bar, or before going to the Buddha Bar, were you using cocaine?
Yes.
Your cocaine?
No.
Who's
He had some.
he being Mr.
Ray
Wilson?
Wilson.
Were you at the Buddha Bar? Were you in a conversation with a older gentleman?
I do not recall.
Okay. Do you recall telling Mr. Wilson that he could leave in your car because you were going with the older gentleman?
Absolutely not. I never gave him permission to leave with my car, and I was never going to be in a vehicle with another man.
You said he wanted to go to a house.
Yes.
You didn't want to go to.
That's correct.
Whose house?
I did not know the person. He expressed to me he wanted to go to this guy's house. I didn't know the guy. I didn't feel comfortable. He expressed at least 3 times, and I did not want to go to this house of a person I did not know.
So you didn't know. Okay, so it wasn't. You didn't want to go to the house because you knew what was going to happen. You just didn't know the
I didn't know that person, and I did not want to be in harm's way, and I did not want to go to a stranger's house of any type. No.
Now, the phone number, 239-333-5924, that's your business.
Yes, you can look up Mila Spa, and that is our business phone number on Google. Yes.
That was on the phone.
That is
Your phone.
My phone. I have multiple lines. That is one of my lines. Yes.
Okay. Who is John Zakins?
John Zakins is one of my friends. Maybe I was on his phone plan at the time, but then I resumed the number later.
Now, you said that when he called you, what, about 6 o'clock in the morning?
I do not recall exactly. It's so hard to remember. 5 years. I don't know.
I understand. All right, but at some point you woke up. And,
Yes, and notice I missed multiple phone calls. Yes.
Okay. And then you called him.
Yes. Whether I finally answered or whether I called him back is not, I do not recall, but one of those happened, yes.
But you said that he was name calling.
Not at first. At first, he was very like, where are you? How do I meet you? All the normal questions. When he realized that I was perturbed and just wanted my property back, it escalated.
And you said he was very angry.
Yes.
And you were very scared.
Yes.
Then why did you agree to meet him?
To get my $80,000 car back that he had stolen.
The car, but why did you expect him to bring the car? You knew he couldn't drive it.
He was with somebody that drove it away. Why would he not be able to return it?
You said when you met up with him, you said there was nobody behind those eyes anymore?
Yes, that's true.
What did you mean?
Dark serial killer eyes, where there's nothing to reason with. It's a black hole. You're saying words, you're trying to evoke emotion in somebody, and there's nothing behind those eyes.
Can I have a moment, Judge?
Yeah.
How did Mr. Wilson get the keys to your $80,000 car?
Okay, so I never carry a purse. I carry 2 phones on me, and the flap of my cell phones is this place where I put all my credit cards, all my IDs, everything that I need, and I carry 2 cell phones with me all the time, and I have keys, and often the person I'm with, I say, will you put your keys in my pocket? And that is exactly how he had it. I do it with my husband every day.
So he didn't.
He didn't steal the keys. I asked him to put them in his pocket for safekeeping. He doesn't know how to drive a stick shift. Why would I assume that he would take it?
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
You read?
Nothing further. I ask that she be released.
Any objection? No. She can be excused. You're step down and you're excused.